So I want you guys to know before I start this that I'm more excited than normal for this video, and this is the first one in a while that I'm able to say that I actually liked, sort of. I liked parts of it, okay? Damien Wayne, illegitimate son of Bruce Wayne aka Batman, has assumed the role of Robin for a few months at this point. During a particularly belligerent night, Damien goes behind Batman's back and tracks down the sinister doll maker, who has been going around kidnapping children. Batman soon arrives, and the two manage to subdue Dollmaker's little minions and corner the serial killer. Damien very nearly crosses the line and kills him, but refrains, only to witness a mysterious owl-clad stranger deliver the finishing blow for him. Hurt that Batman immediately assumed that he committed the murder, Damien storms away. Trying to overcome these dark thoughts, Damien tries to use his time well while locked down in Wayne Manor, including reading books and peeping in on Bruce's dates, his most recent squeeze being with a Miss Samantha Vanover, a member of the Old Money. Though tensions are high between Bruce and Damien, Bruce won't let Damien leave the grounds and Damien is constantly trying to escape, they are shown to have bonded somewhat since the last movie, even willing to just sit down and enjoy a movie together. All is not well, however, as the Court of Owls is on the rise. Bruce initially suspected them of the murder of his parents, but came up with nothing, though recent events make him rethink his initial hypothesis. Now, they've begun to strike against Batman using these strange undead creatures dressed as owl assassins. The court is a mysterious cabal of ultra-wealthy individuals who seek to regain their former power within the Gotham Underground, and to this end, they have trained an assassin known as Talon to cross the lines that Batman won't, namely, killing. Having been watching Damien from the shadows, and first revealing himself by killing the Dollmaker, Talon offers Damien an alternate path as his protege, where he will be able to kill without guilt. Talon's enticing words are enough to make Damien actively fight against Batman as he tries to track Talon in the court, and though Damien wins the fight, where it's debatable if Batman was holding back or not, he refuses to kill Bruce. Everything comes to a head at this point. Talon is shown to have a plan with the court's Grand Master, who is revealed to be none other than Samantha Vanover, which all goes tits up when the court learns of Bruce's secret identity. They trap Damien with the hopes of luring Batman to them, but Talon subsequently betrays them and kills them all, hoping to make Damien his surrogate son and protege, and to do this, he must take Batman out of the equation. He sends the undead assassins to Wayne Manor, where Batman, Nightwing, and Alfred all do their share of ass-kicking, while Damien manages to break out of his cage and join the fight later on. After an intense confrontation that destroys half of the manor, Damien has Talon at his mercy, but once again refuses to cross the line. Seeking to make a Damien like him, Talon forces Damien to kill him, and in the aftermath, Damien leaves Gotham to go soul-searching, as Bruce once did after his parents' deaths. Roll credits. So before I get into the good stuff, I have several big problems with this movie. As this is a DC animated original movie, even though it's better than some we've seen, it still isn't that great. The animation quality is very hit or miss. Overall, the film looks far better than its predecessor, with I think the first actual good blending of 2D and 3D art and model work, but there are still some parts that look downright bad. Strangely, it's most prominent in the titular Batman vs. Robin fight scene. That is easily the worst looking action scene in the entire movie, maybe aside from the pathetic car chase anyway, when it should be one of the most holy shit moments of the entire catalog. Batman fighting his protege? Come on, the drama writes itself. The end fight between Batman and Talon is also of questionable quality, though the build-up to it made it seem better than it probably was in practice, so I'll give it a pass. Aside from the animation, there are some scenes of dialogue that create the most painful tonal whiplash. Specifically, any scene where Damien gets into a pissing contest with Batman is just awful. The opening scene where Batman accuses Damien of killing the Dollmaker is of particular note to me.
What have you done? What have you done?
You think that
After all these months together, all I've taught you, you revert to the assassin your grandfather wanted you to be.
I could have done it easily, but I didn't, out of respect for you.
State police are here. There are more on the way. Who did it?
Figure it out for yourself.
Robin!
Batman immediately suspects his own son of killing, despite there apparently being no issues before now. And Damien is so petulant that he doesn't even tell him who actually did it. It's terrible. Also, I find it very hard to believe that Bruce would lock Damien in Wayne Manor like he did. After the Court of Owls makes their presence known and starts hunting Batman, Sure, but before that, I mean, if anything else, Damien has proven himself capable, and if it was because he was afraid that Damien would go out and kill people, then that needed to be made more clear. Samantha Vaniver's role in the story is also questionable to me. She's introduced as this random old money lady that Bruce is dating, and she turned out to be the court's Grand Master out of nowhere, and with no indication of the kind of power that entails. In the end, she was a pretty useless character, and screen time spent on her probably would have been better spent focusing on the actual villain. Oh, and of course, we have a line at the end where Bruce says, I've suspected her from the start, because Batman.
I suspected Samantha's involvement early on.
Finally, and this is going to be a consistent problem in the New 52 movies, they make Nightwing look like a little bitch. Granted, he has plenty of good action scenes, especially the one where he and Batman team up in the Wayne Manor library against the zombies in the final battle, but then he just stands there as he's impaled in all of his limbs, immediately loses to Talon minutes later, and before all of this, he not only doesn't notice when Damien sneaks out, but he also loses to Damien in a straight fight. Now, I actually kind of like that scene. If they played more with the conflict between Damien, the biological son, and Dick, the adopted one, I think both characters would have ended up stronger for it, and even what we get in this scene is a good start. But it also ends here, and the movie firmly sits on the camp of blood equals power.
You really are a massive eagle, aren't you? The pure and perfect Dick Grayson. The first Robin. Ugh!
Based on what I'm seeing, I was the only Robin.
You're just some lost little orphan he took pity on. But I'm blood!
At the very least, it would have been better if the match ended in a draw, or wasn't conclusive if they got interrupted or something. Again, Damien is like 10 years old. But really, those are the extent of my problems with the movie. The rest is pretty good. To start the least positive, the Court of Owls aren't very well utilized, though they are a very good concept, and one that seems a perfect match for Batman. It's collective might versus individual willpower, and having this shadowy organization go up against the Dark Knight would have been really interesting, even though their attempts to retroactively incorporate the Court of Owls into the Bruce Wayne backstory is really, really desperate. That said, they're poorly utilized and underexplained. Talon's betrayal just doesn't have the impact it needs for how dramatic the scene plays, and though Talon himself is a decent character, I couldn't help but feel like I should have cared more about Samantha and the court before it was all destroyed. Going up from there, Talon is our main villain. He acts as the devil on Damien's shoulder, constantly pushing him into giving into his murderous urges and to kill the villains he faces so that they can't harm anyone else. He was raised by an abusive surrogate father, whom he eventually betrayed, and was then taken in by the court as their assassin. Because of his rough upbringing, he doesn't exactly trust the court's intentions, and his role of essentially being a bounty hunter makes for a very enjoyable, morally gray character. Granted, he sits in the realm of a very dark gray, but still. Unfortunately, his whole motivation and plan kind of falls apart by the end. I understand that he doesn't want to kill Damien when the court orders him to, but why does he have to go after Batman after that? Sure, Batman would probably stop him from killing more people in Gotham, but I doubt he'd follow if Talon just kind of left the city for like Metropolis or something. Or maybe he went to the League of Shadows, or I don't know. If the issue was about Damien still caring about Batman, why does he think killing him will fix that? If anything, it will cause Damien to resent Talon and for him to swear vengeance, which didn't appear to be his goal. At the end, that's what they make it all out to be, as he drives Damien's dagger into his own throat to force him to cross the line. But Talon's biggest problem then becomes that I didn't know that this was his endgame. Spoilers, this is the second of 3 movies that focuses on the Batman-Damien partnership, with Son of Batman, this, and then Batman Bad Blood. Apparently, I haven't seen it yet. This is a really interesting take on a second act, if that's what they're going for. It has shades of Star Wars in there, with our young hero being tempted by dark powers to give in to his baser desires, with him ultimately rejecting the false call and choosing to remain true to his ideals. This movie doesn't work nearly as well as Star Wars, though, for a few reasons. One, Star Wars had a consistent villain in Darth Vader. He was there both fighting against and then tempting Luke to the dark side of the Force, and of course we have the iconic bombshell at the end of movie 2 to just add to the drama. Second, Luke didn't have all of this baggage that Damien has. Luke was a farmhand and was told that his father was a great Jedi and that he could be one too, only to learn that said father was Darth Vader. His temptations came from a trifecta of his naivete, his blood, and his own building rage that came out in select moments, like when he saw Obi-Wan be killed, or when he saw the vision of his friends being in mortal danger, or, the entire last fight scene in Return of the Jedi. Meanwhile, Damien has tons of baggage from the teachings of Ra's al Ghul, and 3 separate villains tempting him: Deathstroke, Talon, and apparently Talia in Bad Blood, though again, I haven't seen it yet. The lack of consistency in threat and persona makes the whole moral dilemma just feel limp, especially because Damien already learned this lesson in the last movie. His entire arc in Son of Batman was accepting his father's teachings and learning that killing was not the correct answer. And now here, he's having to learn it all over again? Did they not go back and watch Son of Batman before they wrote this? I mean, I wouldn't blame them because that movie sucked, but come on, poor form. Whoa, okay, hold up. I'm trying to be positive here. Batman acts as the angel on Damien's shoulder, opposing Talon. He preaches temperance and patience, though thankfully he's much more interesting than a wooden board as he was in Son of Batman. This kind of Obi-Wan versus Palpatine routine to Damien's Anakin, I think is used really effectively if you take the Son of Batman out of the equation. What really makes it work is that opening scene with the doll maker, as this is an incredibly hateable villain who you as the audience are likely to want to see die, and then for Batman to say no, that's wrong, just makes it really easy to root against him and really empathize with Damien's desire to do so. And maybe most importantly, Damien himself is also much improved from his first outing as Robin, in basically every way. His more pompous aspects were significantly toned down, which was perhaps my biggest problem with him, and I think they found a good medium for him in this movie, where he is at once full of himself and way too confident, but is at least more perceptive to criticism than he was in Son of Batman. It also helps that Damien is more or less acting of his own accord, and it's his swaying loyalties that ultimately drive the narrative forward, unlike in Son of Batman where he's just told where to go constantly. Another huge boon in this movie's favor is how they handle Damien's power level. In Son of Batman, he straight up overpowers guys 4 times his size, but in this movie, Nightwing aside, we mostly see him overcome opponents using dirty tricks as well as grapples and throws, using his opponent's weight against them and using his smaller size as an advantage. Whenever he tries to straight up fight someone hand to hand, he pretty much always gets his ass handed to him. This is all conveyed wonderfully through much more competent action direction overall, and though there are very brief bits which match the amateurism of Son of Batman, it is a solid effort for the most part. I suppose if I had to sum up my thoughts on the movie, I'd say that it's way better than Son of Batman, but is let down by being a sequel to that movie. If Son of Batman didn't exist, this would be a much stronger film, as Damien wouldn't be repeating the lesson he learned in that movie. But as it is, and with its own problems, Batman vs. Robin suffers. On one hand, you have some actually decent drama and a much more competent arc for the main character, as well as a satisfying one for the detragonist, but on the other, the conflict is born from contrivances. There's retconning of established lore, and the villain's plan and personality just completely falls apart by the end of the movie. Is it better than Son of Batman? Absolutely, that was never even a question. But is it good? Well, I liked watching it. That's not necessarily a mark of quality, but it is a mark of being entertaining for a drunk. I will leave you to take that as you wish.